Hello, welcome to T-Sport Bernau. Today's video we're going to put the gearbox back in that we got from the service. Also we're going to check the clutch, so we'll check the clutch first. I've already cleaned the inside of the chassis ready to go, because if you leave it dirty and then something leaks, then you can't actually see where the problem is if it's really dirty, so we always clean inside the chassis. So the first job is to take the clutch off. We'll check that the clutch isn't warped, which is quite important for a race engine. Then we'll get the clutch alignment tool, and then we'll put everything back in and then put the gearbox back in. And then this is like a race clutch, which is like it's like not really used that often in serial trucks. I think it's from the heavy haulage application, because this is rated to 6,600 Newton meters, which is obviously what the engine will put out at maximum torque. And the reason why the engine puts that out is because the clutch is the limit. And it's a special friction material on the actual clutch as well, but the actual pads, they look quite good for 1 year old. I'm out of breath because that pressure plate's quite heavy. And then to check, all you do, you find somewhere flat, then make sure it's not on anything, push it that way, that way. And if it springs, then it's warped and it's been too hot at one stage, but it looks all right. And then all you do, you just check around where the rivets are, make sure there's no cracks coming from the inside out, which is quite common on these. But like I say, it's only 1 year old, so it should be good. The actual pressure plate itself is also in real good condition, so it's looks like it's had no heat whatsoever in it, so that's always a bonus. Means it's cheaper to put it all back together. It's not so expensive. Make sure our homemade clutch alignment tool is perfectly in. Make sure there's no dust on it. All looks good. Rag, just like that. It's not too dusty, so it means that the actual clutch hasn't been mistreated or anything, so from that side it's quite good. All good. And then now's the hardest part, is to lift it all in without damaging anything and without trapping my finger and scratching anything. So they're all sort of roughly tight. Well, I say roughly tight, just not optimum tight. They're just nipped up with a few duggers on the buzz gun. and then you just make sure that all that's still free, which it is, and then we just go around and torque these up. And it's quite amazing that all the power goes through 12 M10 bolts, and we torque these up to around 80 Newton meters, so you wouldn't think that all that power would be able to go through all that, but obviously most of the pressure is actually pulling the friction plate to the flywheel and pressure plate, so you just do a little bit tight to start with, make sure that you keep going across. Double check that I haven't missed any. Good, that's done, and then we always make sure that this is clipped back in, so to take the release bearing out, that will be open like that, so we just close that up so it's ready to accept the release bearing. Last job is to pull the homemade clutch alignment tool out. Then the next job is to lift the gearbox in. We'll get that all put on. I've already put oil in the gearbox, which we run a GL4 oil, which is better for the synchros, which are perfect gearbox local service place in Manchester. They said to use GL4 only on the racing gearbox, just helps it last a little bit longer, and it's a little bit thinner for better power as well. We will then, like I say, put the gearbox in and crack on. So a lot of people ask if the gearbox is standard or not. So the actual casing is a standard casing, and all the gearing inside is a standard ZF 16 gear manual H gearbox. We use around maybe 7 high, 8 high in one lap, and we probably change that maybe 2 gear changes per lap. The actual gearbox itself, the modifications we do is the actual clutch mechanism. This is from a military vehicle, so normally you have the clutch pack under the gearbox, but as you can see we actually cut the bottom of the gearbox for the ground clearance, and then we remote mount the clutch slave cylinder, so when we remove the gearbox it's a dry brake, so we don't have to bleed stuff up or take a lot of things off. Then the input shaft, this is what we call a fine tooth shaft. The standard shaft has, I think, 12 splines on it, I think, Mel, or yeah, maybe. And that one can only take around 5,000 Newton meters of torque, and I've actually seen them crack in half, and yeah, so this was like a development from, I think, 2006, 2007, when the big power started coming. We changed to the fine tooth sort of spline. Then the top, that's all a standard for this gearbox, but then all these solenoids, we actually have PE solenoids and a homemade air manifold. We do this so it's a lot less wiring, so we literally have that one plug and then we have another one there, but that controls the whole gearbox, and then we have the hydraulic selectors for the side, and then for the actual forward backwards goes into there, and then the only other wire is on the back for the speed. Okay, we use the GPS for the speed, but we actually have the standard sort of tachograph exciter mounted. If the GPS signal fails, it will turn back to that one, so we have a bit of extra safety, and then it's just one airline. So that's how we can change it really quick. So to take it out, it only took me 45 minutes, and Tom only helped us with the driving of the forklift. So from that side, it is a simple job. and it's made to be done very quickly. So from that side, it's a real good positive. So we're just going to lift this back in, and I think that is all the modifications we do to the gearbox, I think, Mel. Yeah, good. So yeah, we'll chuck this back in and go from there. Nice and steady. Can you side shift that way, Mike? The far one. That's it. Bit more. Go on, keep going. All the way if you want. Oh, that's it. Ooh. So that's generally what is involved in a gearbox service and a gearbox change. If you've got any questions or if you want to comment on anything, don't forget to do that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.